You walk past strangers every day without thinking about it. In a crowded airport, a city street, or a grocery store, you assume every human face belongs to the same species as you. But for almost all of human history, that assumption would have been wrong. For over 300,000 years, humans shared the planet with other kinds of humans. Not different cultures, not different tribes, different human species. Imagine standing under the burning African sun, dust swirling across the savanna, or shivering through the icy winds of an Ice Age valley. Around a distant fire, another group watches you from the darkness. They make tools. They hunt. They care for their young. They bury their dead. And yet, they are not us. One of the strangest of these humans stood barely over 3 feet tall. Scientists would eventually call them Homo Floresiensis. The media gave them another name, the Hobbits. For decades, we believed humans were alone, the final survivors, the only branch left on the human family tree. But what if that's not the whole story? What if our rise wasn't just a story of survival? What if it was also a story of replacement? Because somewhere on a remote Indonesian island, a tiny human species survived for thousands of years. Then modern humans arrived, and shortly afterward, they disappeared. So what really happened to the real hobbits? And did our ancestors help push them into extinction without ever realizing it? The answer changes the way we think about what it means to be human. Look at your body. Your brain uses enough energy to power a light bulb. Your hands can build skyscrapers. Your voice can communicate ideas across continents. Yet, despite all that sophistication, your body carries the marks of an ancient past. Every person on Earth belongs to a single surviving human species. That sounds normal. It isn't. For most of the last few million years, multiple human species existed at the same time. When an entire branch of life disappears except one survivor, scientists start asking questions, because nature usually doesn't work that way. Look at wolves. Look at bears. Look at cats. Many related species coexist, yet today, every human you will ever meet belongs to the same species, Homo sapiens. And the mystery becomes even stranger when we examine the hobbits. No other known human species looked quite like them. Their bodies were tiny, just 1.06 meters tall. Their brains were small, only 417 cubic centimeters. Their anatomy combined ancient traits with recent ones. Meanwhile, modern humans evolved larger brains, complex technologies, and global expansion. It's almost as if two completely different evolutionary worlds existed side by side. One continued growing. One vanished. And we are the descendants of the survivor. In 2004, Australian archaeologist Peter Brown and Indonesian archaeologist Thomas Sutikna, together with an international research team, published findings describing a remarkable discovery from Liang Bua Cave on the Indonesian island of Flores. The remains belonged to an adult female approximately 1.06 meters tall. Her skeleton became known as LB1. The findings appeared in the journal Nature and immediately transformed the study of human evolution. Researchers concluded that the remains represented a previously unknown human species, Homo floresiensis. The discovery shocked scientists because the individual possessed a brain volume of roughly 417 cubic centimeters, far smaller than that of modern humans. Yet associated stone tools suggested sophisticated behavior. Then came additional evidence. In 2016, researchers led by Gerrit van den Berg published evidence from Matamenga, another site on Flores. Scientists uncovered fossil remains dating to approximately 700,000 years ago. The fossils suggested that ancestors of the hobbits had occupied Flores for hundreds of thousands of years. The story became even more surprising In 2017, dating studies refined the timeline for Liang Bua and suggested that Homo floresiensis likely survived until around 50,000 years ago. That date matters because it overlaps closely with the arrival of modern humans in the region. And here's what makes the mystery deeper. Scientists still debate exactly where the hobbits came from. Were they descendants of Homo erectus that evolved smaller bodies on an island? Were they linked to an even more ancient human lineage? The fossils answered one question and opened 10 more. Mainstream anthropology offers a reasonable explanation. It's called island dwarfism. The theory is well established in evolutionary biology. When large animals become isolated on islands with limited resources, smaller body sizes can become advantageous. Smaller bodies require less food. They mature faster. They place fewer demands on the environment. Scientists have observed similar patterns in elephants, deer, and other mammals living on islands. Flores itself provides remarkable examples. Ancient dwarf elephants known as stegodons once lived there. Supporters of the theory argue that an ancestral human population became stranded on Flores hundreds of thousands of years ago. Over many generations, natural selection favored smaller bodies. Eventually, a distinct species emerged. It makes sense. It's logical. It's supported by evidence from island ecosystems around the world. And it probably explains part of the story. But it doesn't fully explain why such a unique human lineage survived for so long and then disappeared so close to the arrival of modern humans. That's where the mystery remains. Go back 60,000 years. The world feels different. Sea levels are lower. Massive ice sheets grip large portions of the planet. Across Africa, Asia, and beyond, human populations move into new territories. Now travel to Flores. The air is humid. Volcanic hills rise above dense forests. Giant storks roam the landscape. Komodo dragons patrol the undergrowth. And somewhere among them walks a human species unlike any alive today. Not a myth. Not a legend. A real human. Barely taller than a modern child. For hundreds of thousands of years, the hobbits survived here. Their ancestors crossed water barriers that should have been difficult for early humans. They crafted stone tools. They adapted to an isolated environment. They endured dramatic climate shifts. At Liang Bua Cave, researchers uncovered stone artifacts, animal remains, and skeletal evidence revealing a long history of occupation. The discoveries contradicted a common assumption. For years, many scientists believed a small brain automatically meant limited intelligence. The hobbits challenged that idea. Their tools demonstrated planning. Their survival demonstrated adaptability. Their existence demonstrated evolutionary creativity. Nature had produced another way to be human. Then something changed. Around the same period that modern humans expanded through Southeast Asia, evidence for the hobbits disappears from the archaeological record. Scientists are careful about drawing conclusions. There is currently no definitive proof that modern humans directly killed Homo floresiensis. No battlefield, no massacre site, no smoking gun. But timing matters. Again and again throughout prehistory, when modern humans entered regions occupied by other human species, those species eventually vanished. Neanderthals disappeared. Denisovans faded from the record. Other lineages vanished as well. Modern humans spread. The family tree narrowed, whether through competition, resource pressure, disease, interbreeding, environmental change, or some combination of factors. One branch after another disappeared. And Flores raises the possibility that the hobbits became part of that pattern. Imagine the encounter. A small population of island-adapted humans. A larger population of technologically advanced newcomers. Different hunting strategies. Different social networks. Different survival advantages. no one would have understood they belonged to different species. There were no biology textbooks, no evolutionary diagrams, no concept of genetics, only strangers appearing on the horizon. And if competition followed, neither side may have understood what was unfolding. Yet, the consequences could have lasted forever. Because once a species disappears, millions of years of unique evolutionary history disappear with it. The Hobbits were not an experiment. They were not a mistake. They were another answer to the challenge of being human. Their bodies carried solutions shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. Their instincts belonged to a world we can barely imagine. And in a strange sense, your body still remembers that world. Not because you descend directly from the Hobbits, but because you descend from an age when multiple human species shared the earth. Your brain evolved in a crowded evolutionary landscape. Your ancestors were not alone. For most of our story, humanity was not a single thing. It was a collection of experiments. A branching forest, a family of survivors. Today we see only one branch. But once there were many? No species in roughly 4 billion years of life on Earth has done exactly what humans did. Crocodiles have existed for tens of millions of years. They are extraordinary predators. They never built cities. Sharks have survived multiple mass extinctions. They never launched satellites. Eagles master the sky. They never wrote history. And then there's us. From stone flakes to smartphones, from campfires to quantum computers, from cave walls to spacecraft, from oral stories to artificial intelligence, from isolated bands to global civilization. The timeline is astonishing. A few thousand generations, a geological blink, an evolutionary heartbeat. And somewhere inside that acceleration lies another mystery. Why us? Why did one human lineage transform the planet while every other human lineage disappeared? Scientists continue debating the details. Culture, language, social learning, population size, cooperation, climate pressures, technology. Perhaps all of them mattered. Perhaps none can explain the whole picture alone. Because the speed of the transformation remains one of the most remarkable events in the history of life. The most honest answer science has right now is, we don't fully know. We've got fossils. We've got stone tools. We've got dates carved into layers of ancient earth. We've got fragments of a story, but not the complete story. Somewhere in the darkness between those fragments lived real people. The Hobbits were not characters from fiction. They watched sunsets. They searched for food. They protected their families. They endured storms, droughts, predators, and time itself. Then one day, they were gone. Maybe climate played a role. Maybe competition mattered. Maybe several forces converged at exactly the wrong moment. We don't fully know. And that's what keeps the question alive. Maybe the disappearance of the Hobbits isn't just a story about extinction. Maybe it's a clue about how fragile every branch of humanity once was. Because if evolution had unfolded slightly differently, they might be the ones studying fossils of us. Instead, we became the last surviving human species, a species intelligent enough to uncover its own origins, yet still uncertain about much of its deepest past. We walk through modern cities carrying brains shaped by ancient worlds. We build machines powerful enough to explore other planets. And still we spend our nights wondering about footprints left in forgotten caves. Perhaps that is the strangest thing about humanity. We are the species that investigates itself, the species that survived, the species that remembers. And after discovering an entire lost kind of human, hidden for thousands of years, what other chapters of our story are still waiting beneath the ground?